music, dance, theater, it's time to take a seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez. Hear from performers, producers, presenters, and creators who enrich our lives in the performing arts. Who's on stage? Here is Tom Alvarez to introduce you.
Have you ever really needed somebody the way I need a certain song?
Greetings, and welcome to On the Aisle with me, Tom Alvarez. My guest today is internationally renowned entertainer Anthony Nunziata. Dubbed America's new romantic singing sensation, Nunziata is a Brooklyn-born, Nashville-based singer, songwriter, and actor who brings his soulful tenor voice to classic jazz, pop standards, Italian arias, and his timeless original music. Join me now as I go on the aisle with Anthony.
Will you be my everyday? Will you let me in your world and walk with me all the way to heaven here on earth? 'Cause when I look at you, it's all I wanna do. Won't you let me hear you say, yes, you want it to always. Want that kind of love. Will you be my everyday?
Have you ever covered a carpet stain with a rug, ignored a leaky faucet, pretended your half-painted living room is supposed to look like that? Well, you're not alone. We've all got unfinished home projects. But there's an easier way. Thumbtack is the app that makes it easier to care for your home. Pull out your phone and in just a few taps, search, chat, and book highly rated pros right in your neighborhood. Download Thumbtack and start caring for your home the easier way.
Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Welcome, Anthony Nunziata, my good friend, colleague. This is a dream come true having my own podcast, but to have you sitting across from me to talk about your career for an hour, what a gift. How you doing?
Thank you, Tom. Hey, buddy. Good to be with you, and congratulations on the podcast.
Well, thank you so much. It truly is a great opportunity for me to converse with artists. I've interviewed you at least 2 or 3 times. Everyone I cover, I'm very happy to share that, I usually develop friendships because I don't believe in that professional distance between the people I cover and the artists, because, I like to think that, you've been interviewed a lot and you really helped me recently because you said, we talked about, so Anthony, what is it like to be interviewed who are the best interviewers out there? Ask for your advice. Do you remember what you said to me?
Well, I say that you're a pretty gosh darn good interviewer, Tom, and how you create a conversation, and that's very natural, and also you extract truths from people that's important as someone who went to school also for journalism.
That's true.
I've always been interested in the storytelling aspect, and when I feel it in other people, I'm like, it's beautiful.
Trust me, I wasn't fishing. The whole point is to give you the opportunity to tell your story.
Well, even as a performer, right, when I'm on stage and I'm singing, it's in between my songs where, I want to give people a backstory. But when I'm doing my crowd work, it's not about inserting. That's my moment to not insert myself, but to truly show interest in knowing people's names, where they're from, what their backstory is. And I know you've seen it during my concerts where then I call back instances or names of people throughout the show. And for me, I try to also institute that as well, because you know this, Tom, it's all about making sure that people feel a connection. Yeah.
Exactly.
That people feel like
exactly
they're being seen and heard.
Exactly.
And so if we're in the position to get that going, I think people appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. And connection is the key, is it not?
Amen.
All the things that you do, we have things in common that way. Theater, music, broadcasting, it's all the same thing. It's connecting, communicating with people. Along those lines of connecting, you really are a great connector, if you will. I've seen your cabaret act. I've lost track, Anthony. I've seen you in a couple of concerts. Most recently, you were in a concert with the Indianapolis Symphony Choir and the Indianapolis Chamber Orchestra. At one performance at Clues Hall and 2 at the Palladium. It was a holiday concert. Talk about that concert.
Oh, that was a really special week of concerts. It's fun because before those concerts this past holiday, I had performed at the intimate venue Feinstein's at the Hotel Carmichael in Carmel for, I think it was maybe three separate engagements, so 5 or 6 concerts. So to have this new fan base and also a lot of new people see me perform in a larger setting was thrilling. Look, I've told you this before, Tom. For me, whether I'm performing in a jazz club or Carnegie Hall or the Cafe Carlyle, I try to bring the same intimacy to everything that I do. Because at the end of the day, for me, as a storyteller, I need to create that sense of intimacy because it's me and the singular audience member. That's how I look at it. When whether I'm able to look into the eyes of people in an intimate setting or just the front row in a large setting or out into the audience in a more of a theatrical, I try to break down that fourth wall, Tom, so that people feel what's coming from me versus me performing at them. I've learned that from my favorite performers too, that the more authentic you are, the more vulnerable you seem to be in terms of having a conversation with. I think that's where the magic happens, I mean, look, I just saw Adele in Las Vegas, and Adele has that unique, special quality of engaging an audience as if they're around the TV, chit-chatting and talking about life. And my hope is that people feel like they get to know me because for me, that's what they're getting.
Speaking of the Cafe Carlyle, which you mentioned, and just venues, let's talk about venues. You played a lot of prestigious venues, have you not? Well, the Cafe Carlyle, of course. How long were you there and when were you there?
Yeah, I was there for 2 nights in May of 2023 as my debut there. And to get that invite, to get that call was special. It 6 years ago, I got the call to play Carnegie Hall with the New York Pop Symphony Orchestra to co-headline that concert. And the Cafe Carlyle definitely has, certainly the prestige and...
Well, no kidding. Bobby Short held court there for a long time.
Yes.
And, his Indiana connection, he was considered the foremost interpreter of Cole Porter.
That's right.
And I happened to see him one night there, and I will always treasure that memory to be up that close to a legend like him.
That's amazing. That must have been amazing.
So for you to perform there, that is no small feat. And there's a chance, did you not tell me that you may be invited back?
Yes, yeah, we're looking at dates now.
Wood, huh?
We're looking at dates now.
And then as far as concerts you've done, I know you played Carnegie Hall, but the list goes on and on and on, doesn't it? And symphony orchestras you performed with?
Yes. Yeah, symphony orchestras all around the country.
And what's your favorite performance format, if you will? Cabaret, concert halls? Are concerts cabaret, or are they sort of similar? I mean, material, whatever.
For me, Tom, truly, it's the next show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much, and we've spoken at length about this, I'm very cognizant of being so present of wherever I am. Whether just yesterday I was performing a benefit concert for a retirement community right before my concert at a nightclub in St. Louis. So it's all the same to me. And I have learned from my favorite performers that you treat every performance as if it's the first time somebody is seeing you.
Mm-hmm.
As an actor, I'm singing these songs, whether I've written them or I'm doing my take on them. I'm experiencing the lyrics and the song for the very first time. So the combination of being very focused on being present and living out these songs and my banter with people for the very first time is the magic of what I do as a concert artist. And the venue is merely, to me, the shell. It's up to me, and it's fun to put those elements out there and to create the vibe, the emotional landscape of an evening. And that's thrilling for me because it truly is jumping off a cliff with a parachute, but you just don't know when you're going to throw it off your back. Sometimes you wait till the very end and you throw it off. That's exciting. Danger and the unknown and fear, I dive into it. We've spoken about this too, and you understand this too in your career. For me, and I look at people like Joan Rivers, who had the opportunity of meeting her once a couple of years before she unfortunately passed away. But her fearlessness is something that's also just embedded in me. I love the idea of just going for it.
Well, you speak of your philosophy, if you will, about staying in the moment. I've seen that firsthand. I want to explain that you were here visiting with me in the studio today, and this will be available. This particular podcast will be available in a couple of weeks. But today is February the 16th. Day after Valentine's Day, and tell the listeners why you're here.
Sure. Well, I'm here this weekend closing out my 9-show Valentine's tour, and people who know my music, whenever it's not a Christmas show, it's a Valentine's tour. I happen to be a lover of romantic classics, Italian arias, and my original songs. And a lot of them, most of them, dive into the nuances of love. And we're talking about romantic love for ourselves, love and peace for our world. And it's those themes that I think are timeless. And I know, well, for me, it's exciting to go on those journeys during concerts. But more importantly, it's the conversations I have with people after the show, Tom, where people share the stories that have been excavated, perhaps with a little bit of a push through a song that I've sung or a song that brings back a memory for them. That's my job, of connecting people and to make people feel perhaps a little bit more alive.
I tell you, we also wanted to tell our listeners that you're here in the studio, just having appeared on Lifestyle Live, show that I appear on bi-weekly, and sang Ave Maria. And what did I tell you afterwards? It's much like what you hear all the time. What we're talking about. I said, "Oh, Anthony, that hymn, that song is so important to my family. It was sung and played at my mother's funeral, my father's funeral, family weddings, and it has a lot of sentimentality and nostalgia attached to it." But you get that all the time about a lot of your songs, do you not?
Yes, and that's, well, that's the beautiful thing about me hopefully putting my take on a song so people feel both familiar with it and yet take something new away with it. And, I guess this first just came to me in the fact that being a crossover artist allows me to connect people on a level of the familiar songs that people know in a new way and new songs that I've been a part of writing with hopefully a sentiment that feels familiar.
What exactly does crossover artist mean?
I mean, it's the term I think that's just put out there. I don't know who branded it like that, but I think it is.
I called you that for what?
Oh,
then I would find out what your take is on it.
Crossover, I think, means that I cross between a lot of different genres. Mm-hmm. And I think, and my hope is that my crossover is unique to what I do. I know you've mentioned it before, and other people have mentioned that. My hope is also to be unique out there in the marketplace of music, but I'm not doing it like overly strategically. The songs that I choose to sing and to cover, to rearrange, or to just add some touches to make it feel different, are all songs that I feel deeply moved by and excited to sing. Mm-hmm. I want, when I get to every song in my show, Tom, I have to be excited about it. And if I don't, we swap in another song.
Let's talk about your Italian repertoire, which I love because I love all things Italian. First of all, tell us about your background.
Sure.
How'd you get that name, that beautiful name?
Well, it came from Torre Nunziata, which is a mountainous town outside of Naples, Italy. And so Torre Nunziata, and then my last name is Nunziata. And my great-grandparents in 1911 came over to Ellis Island and settled in Brooklyn. Both my grandparents come from my dad's side, come from Naples, Italy. My grandma Nunziata, who I talk a lot during my concerts.
The one who puts plastic on her couches, or did.
Yes. I never seen her personally put it on the couch, but she definitely enjoyed, she sat down on it and grandma would sing Neapolitan classics. The songs that her father would sing to her, she sang to me. Mm-hmm. And I could still, even just sitting down on this chair now, Tom, I can hear the crunch of that plastic on the couch of my grandmother holding myself and my brother together and singing Santa Lucia and O Sole Mio. So when I have these moments in my show, Tom, where whether it's an intimate room or a big concert hall, I channel that moment. I truly go like a movie. Mm-hmm. I go back to that memory and channel that emotion and then present that to the audience. Mm-hmm. In turn, hopefully them feeling what I'm putting out there.
Well, I can tell you that your that repertoire of yours really, it's universal. I think anybody from any ethnic background can relate to it. I know, there are very similar, many similarities to Latino and Italian culture. And and because of your background, it's in your blood, I believe. And so I've mentioned in a review that my reaction to it, it's visceral. It's soulful. What you do with that music, it's soulful. It's in you. It's in your cells. I don't speak Spanish, but whenever I hear it, I understand a lot. But someone told me it's because it's in your cells. You were born with it.
Amen, Tom.
Do you believe that?
I absolutely do. When I really began to study classical voice in college, I studied classical voice for about 3 years. And that's when I learned Italian as well. I mean, more in depth. And so I, of course, know everything that I'm singing. I'm working on speaking it more fluently and proficiently than the language of the Italian language. But everything I sing, I know what I'm singing, and that it's so funny. After shows, I get a lot of native Italians coming after me and start speaking to me full blown Italian, and I know what to say in Italian of saying, I'm sorry, or grazie or prego, and I wish I had more to say, and that's a good sign, because they said that my hopefully my diction and my pronunciation is correct to the region of where these songs are coming from. So
fabulous.
So as an actor,
of course,
and as an Italian American,
I know
it's important that I do the thing.
I know you spent time on that dialect. I know you did.
Yeah, it's very important to me too, because my heroes like Luciano Pavarotti or
Andrea Bocelli is coming
Bocelli
here soon, by the way. Oh my goodness. But that's another podcast. We could talk about the great opera singers that you've been influenced by. But
Yes.
Before we go any further, what was the song that we heard during the introduction? Because I want to get into
Yes.
your recording career, which
Sure.
is a big part of what you're doing right now. But what is that song?
Yeah,
What was that song?
Yeah, the first song you played is called "Will You Be My Everyday," and my collaborators and I, when we were writing it, wanted to come up with a new way of expressing that moment when you want to ask that special person of spending every day with. And it's a special song for me, and it seems to resonate with a lot of people, because again, it expresses that familiar sentiment of asking somebody to marry them, but in a more, I think, just emotional way. So that song has become certainly a staple of mine that people enjoy listening to. It gets a lot of radio play, and I'm glad that
tell
resonates.
me about your history of recording, and you've got some really interesting. You've had some really interesting collaborations with other. Of course, you're a songwriter. We need to talk about that. You wrote the lyrics, did you not?
Yeah, I wrote the lyrics and the music to these songs.
You did the both. Okay.
Yes.
Well, multi-dimensional talent as well. So do you play the piano on instruments?
Actually, just basic piano.
Okay.
So it's mostly the melodies that I hear in my head, and the lyric writing is done simultaneously. Sometimes one takes over the other, but it's always in collaboration with at least one, sometimes two other people.
Well, tell me some of the people you've worked with, and most notably Michael Feinstein.
Sure. Yeah, there's a song that we wrote that will be on an upcoming album, and that was very special. I mean, Michael Feinstein is my friend and longtime mentor. When I got started in my early 20s, he saw what I was doing and gave me a chance to play his original nightclub in New York City, Feinstein's at the Regency Hotel. And as a native New Yorker, that was one of the hot spots to be. So here I am as a 20-something getting to sing. I mean, I wasn't writing much then, so to sing the classics. Yeah, my take on classic American songbook songs. So anyway, fast forward, in us writing together now is very special.
I'm sure it's surreal on some level too.
It's beautiful. It's just, it's an indication of you never know where life takes you. But you mentioned this before, that the people that you just know when you have a deep connection and you enjoy being around the person. You enjoy the sparks of creativity that happened between you. And it was actually after a concert that we did together where I said, Michael, are you writing, because he had mentioned to me that he wanted to write more and more. And I said, you writing much? He's like, yeah. It's like, let's write. So we set up a date and we wrote a song. And that song is also accompanied by a fantastic choir out of Miami, Florida. So that song will be on my new album. And so, people like him, people like Victoria Shaw, who's written hits for Garth Brooks, Jeff Ranzel, Nina Ossoff, Maria Christensen. I could list the people that they've written hit songs for, but the fact that they're writing with me, for me, I mean, I feel blessed. And it's exciting living in Nashville now too, Tom. I've been living there now for a couple of years. I'm writing with songwriters that write for pop stars, country stars, So again, the crossover
Gotcha.
feel that I'm going for.
Well, you know, Michael did a duet album with country stars, so the possibilities are endless. I mean,
They always are.
mhm.
Possibility. I think
love
that's
that country album, by the way. It's like, I was a little skeptical, I'll admit. Wait a minute. But I knew, well, I'm going to listen to it because I know that Michael could pull it off if anybody did. And it was spectacular. It's one of my favorites.
Let me tell you, the song choices. Yeah, the song choices on that album, I think, also gave these country artists an opportunity, and Liza, an opportunity to perhaps even dive a little bit deeper into their artistry.
Mm-hmm. Well, but there's such fusion anyway in country now. There are blends of their, you know, I mean, just the whole culture's changing. African American singers have been let in, and so on and so forth. But I digress. You know, let's take a moment to hear one of those tracks from your new album. Tell us about it before we play it.
Yes, this first song is called "Back to You." I wrote it with a recent 2-time now Grammy-nominated artist and songwriter, Blessing Offer, and this is the quickest song I've ever written. I mean, I don't like to put quantity to when a song germinates, but we wrote this song, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It just came to us. It was just us two that wrote it, including this track includes a full gospel choir, and it'll be the title track. It is the title track and single off of my brand new album, and you're getting a very sneak peek listen to that. We just got it mastered, so here you go, Tom.
Oh, wow. Let's listen.
Look at life pulling us apart, as if we weren't written in the stars. Nothing can pull you from my heart. Look at time taking you from my arms. Wish that I could keep you from the scars and all the pain and trouble that'll leave a mark. You, back to you, when the world's got its back to you. Back to you, call me and I'll run right back to you. You'll never stand alone. You'll have my hand to hold when the world's got its back to you. Look at love showing us the way and giving us a little faith. Look behind the darkness, oh, we'll find the day. And when your secrets need hiding, and your monsters need fighting, and your nightmares come right back to you. Back to you, when the world's at its back to you. Back to you, call me and I'll run right back to you. You'll never stand alone. You'll have my hand to hold when the world's got its back to you. Back to you, when the world's got its back to you. Back to you, call me and I'll run right back to you. You'll never stand alone. You'll have my hand to hold when the world's got its back to you. You'll never stand alone. You'll have my hand to hold when the world's got its back to you.
Wow. I'm so taken with your creativity. I look forward to hearing this whole album.
Thank you.
But let's go back to your grandma's couch. You talked about a brother. Tell me about. I know your brother because
Yes.
I've spoken with him, and I want to back up a little bit about how I first came upon the two of you when you were in ACT, and I want you to talk about
Sure.
that. Tell us about what he's doing these days, and how you got started. I got a Facebook request from the Nunziata brothers, and I was like really impressed with the fact that they were like New York based, but why were they wanting me to friend me on Facebook? And then it became over time very clear, boy, these two really know how to market themselves. And so that's how I came to know who you were. And of course, you went out on your own. And then, of course, now you've become Anthony Nunziata, your solo career. But tell us about your brother.
Well, my brother is my twin brother. He's also my closest friend and my collaborator.
And it's spitting image of you. Well, pretty much. Maybe some little differences.
Yeah, I mean, we are identical twins, but yeah. we have our differences, I hope. Look, I talk openly about how close I am with my brother, and I'm grateful in this life to have somebody to call upon who knows me better than anybody. And that collaboration started at birth for me, having a twin brother. And it's been amazing throughout all these years of how we've been able to push each other in everything that we've done, whether it's in theater, music, growing up, and still I'm a very active athlete. We always pushed each other. And it's an amazing how we pushed each other as a team and also individually. And that's just, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm grateful to have the relationship I do with him. And I don't want to be remiss to forget that we have a younger sister, Annie, 5 years younger than us. And she is the mom of my two darling nephews, Patrick and Jack. She and Brian are amazing parents. And let me tell you, as a songwriter, and I can go on, but as a songwriter, I draw so much now inspiration of being an uncle to these beautiful children. And
I've seen them on Facebook.
Yes.
You dote on them.
Oh, they are God's gift.
Well, I'm an uncle too, so I relate.
So you understand.
I'm a great uncle. Great uncle, actually. I got a few years over you.
That's a lot of grades.
So tell me about his career.
Sure.
I mean, he's doing quite well himself.
He's a creator. Look, during the pandemic, we lived in the same apartment building in New York City. And while everything was shut down, we both were individually doing our own creative projects. I was writing a Christmas album, and he was connecting with people all across the world, saying, let's create, let's make something happen. 2, 3, 4 years later now, these projects are coming to fruition. One of which he just opened up a moving and lovely off-Broadway musical called White Rose the Musical that has, fabulous reviews and doing so well.
What's it about?
Oh, it's about the untold story of these truth tellers, these young students, non-Jewish students in Germany during the time of the Nazi regime, spreading the truth of what they were doing and the horrors of what was going on. And so they would share these leaflets secretly posting around town. And right at the end of these young students' death, it became apparent that their leaflets spread across Europe, potentially, and they think saving tens of thousands of lives.
True story, right?
True story.
Wow.
So Will found this musical in its infancy and helped develop it, direct it. And so my brother has projects all around the world.
So I'm hearing you say he is becoming a well-known director. Is he a writer as well?
Yes, he is. He's a writer of film.
Does he still sing at all? Perform?
I think for fun. And I at my Cafe Carlisle debut, I had him come up for a surprise song. Oh. So whenever opportunities I do have, I try to give him, But look, you know my brother. I love him. I love him dearly. But just give him the stage for a specific amount of time, and that's good because he'll stay up there.
Well, I always find it interesting when performers step away because they realize that that's not really for them. They would like to connect or communicate with the audience in a different way, becoming writers, becoming producers. There is life after performance if you choose.
Well, the thing is with Will, I truly believe he has both in him. It's not that it's just that or he isn't making his full-time job anymore as a singer and a performer, but he's still a gosh darn great actor and a great singer.
Well, let's talk about acting because you're an actor as well, because any storyteller, they're only as good as their dramatic abilities. In my experience, reviewing many, 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 many cabaret performers, for me, part of the attraction of the art form is the storytelling. Someone who I can sit there and be drawn into the story that they're doing with song and by their technique, whatever it is, their expressions, the drama that and you do this too. You want to see performers who have that storytelling ability, so they make each song a theatrical piece, a beginning, middle, and an end, and you're just like totally mesmerized in the story, the way they interpret the lyrics. That truly, to me, is the art form. Would you agree?
Thank you. Yes, for me, I do treat every song like a 3-act play. I've studied the great concert artists, from Frank Sinatra to Lena Horne in her one-woman show on Broadway to Tony Bennett to Liza Minnelli. It's important for me to be in the moment. I think it was Laurence Olivier who said this, where it's not acting, it's being. And for me, that's where the vulnerability happens. That's where, hopefully, in me being as truthful as I can in a song or in my repartee with an audience, that it feels true. Because if I'm feeling that this is a truthful moment, in turn, hopefully the audience is feeling that as well.
Speaking of little theatrical moments, let's hear another track from your album. What can you play for us?
Sure.
What can we hear?
Yes, this is a song that is also very special to me. I wrote this next song as a capturing a feeling that I think a lot of people, we all are in search for and yearning, and that's that sense of belonging, that sense of home. And it's, with that sentiment, I wrote the song with Tom Kimmel and Jeff Franzel. And this version that you're hearing right now will also be on my upcoming album of original songs.
Oh, the waiting is hard when the wait is so long, when the feeling runs deep and the need is so strong, you can hardly believe you might someday belong, and belong with somebody like you. Home, I found a home, I'm not alone, I found a friend in you, and dreams, they do come true. And when they do, you find that everything is possible and bright and new. I found a home in you. Now you hear all the talk, you gotta wait for your turn, but it just brings you down, and you think you might learn that love is for everyone else in this world. That's what's so amazing to me. Home, I found a home, I'm not alone, I found a friend in you, and dreams, And when they do, you find that everything is possible and bright and new. I found a home in you. You made my heart your own, and I thank my lucky stars every day. Those bad old days are gone, and I just wish the whole wide world could say home. I found a home. I'm not alone. I found a friend in you, and dreams, they do come true. And when they do, you find that everything is possible and bright and new. I found a home. I found a home. I found a home in you. I found a home.
So now that you're in Nashville, do you believe that there's something in the water down there, or what? Is it like a renaissance? Are you feeling this just overwhelming creativity? It's all around you.
Yes, it truly is. People travel all around the world to come to Nashville, to break in, to make it. And for me, when I made the decision during the pandemic to move there, it was because I was collaborating with writers and producers via Zoom who live in Nashville. And that sensibility, that sense of possibility, the idea that I could be collaborating and have been collaborating with writers from all different backgrounds is thrilling. For me, growth only happens when you take those deep dives, when you sort of take those risks and chances. I knew one person, two people in Nashville. I mean, knew. I mean, I was collaborating with people, but really know people. I knew two people, but I did it because I just had a gut feeling that this is where I'm going to grow. And it's been thrilling to know that every day, in as much as Nashville for me is a home base because I travel and tour so much, but every time I get back to Nashville, the creative juices just come to me.
Do you run into people on the street, random people in the music business? Stars, celebrities. I mean, is it like New York where you can walk the streets and no one bothers you? You can just be yourself.
I haven't had that experience yet, but yes, from people that I know, writers especially who write for stars, say that they are left alone. And I think that's why a lot of celebrities have also moved to Nashville, even non-country artists or singers. You know, people in the entertainment business just like that homegrown feeling of allowing people to live out their lives.
It sounds like LA, though. People who live in Santa Barbara, Montecito, and they go into LA, but they have their big estates, their gated communities, so they have the privacy, but people leave them alone generally when they go to
people
restaurants and whatever.
Exactly. In Nashville, it's definitely that vibe, and it allows artists, I think, and for me, to focus on the work.
So, speaking of Nashville, you have a date coming up with someone a special guest will be someone we both know, who is a local product, Amelia Ray. Talk about your history with Amelia.
Yeah, sure thing. Yes. In Nashville, I'm going to be performing my full concert at the City Winery in Nashville on March 15th. Amelia, I met during one of my engagements here in Carmel, Indiana. And she's a fabulous young singer and songwriter. big voice, great personality. And she's going to be my special guest at my Nashville show because she's attending Belmont University now in Nashville. And she's been a special guest of mine in Carmel, Indiana, in Los Angeles at Catalina's Jazz Club, and now in Nashville. And I think she's a fabulous talent,
Yeah, I think we need to insert here that Amelia has a background in Hollywood where she performed because she was a Disney kid. She was in a show called Sydney to the Max and did that for like 3 years. But then she outgrew the role because she became a teenager. But so give me an estimation of what you think her talent and her prediction for her future.
Well, Amelia,
you wouldn't have her on the stage with you if you didn't think she had the goods.
Well, she does have the goods. And I think, I was given so many opportunities as a young artist to perform on bigger stages. And so I see her drive and I see her talent is enormous. Really. It's
well,
there's so much going for her.
Ironically, she was on that Palladium stage a couple of weeks before you with the Carmel Symphony Orchestra. So I think that's pretty ironic and interesting. But you're known for that. Whenever you play Feinstein's, you always showcase young talent. And we'll get into your relationship with Michael, the other relationship you have with him and his Songbook Foundation and
yes.
the Songbook Academy. But why do you like to support and showcase and introduce emerging artists, young people?
I think giving anybody an opportunity to share their gifts, that's important.
Someone did it for you, right?
Oh, sure. I've had a lot of opportunities, like I mentioned before, Michael Feinstein, people who've given me breaks or chances. It's just in me to give people who I think are not only talented, but they have a passion and a drive to do this. I want to give them a chance. I want to give them an opportunity. I enjoy being a mentor and a teacher because I've been blessed to have great mentors and teachers.
Tell me about your mentors and teachers.
My goodness. I mean, well, first, my father still is and was my first music teacher. Growing up, I talk about this during my shows. My dad would make up these silly songs and sing it to my brother and myself and my sister. And at the time, I thought that these were songs that were out there. But my dad he's so creative. He's a creative. He's a copywriter by trade in advertising.
What's your dad's name?
Joe.
And what's your mom's name?
Fran.
Okay.
Joe and Fran. Yeah, mom and dad.
Okay.
So growing up, there was this sense of playfulness, and it's okay to make up silly songs. It's okay to create. And not only is it okay, let's have fun doing it. And when I look back, that's a life post moment. I can see and hear the laughter between myself and my father. And that joy is the same joy that I try to tap into when I write, when I perform. We all have a little kid inside of us that wants to come out and play, that all has looking for a voice to share with the world. And any opportunity, therefore, that I get to do my thing or give other people, young people, an opportunity to share that voice within them, it's freeing, Tom. Mm-hmm. It's freeing. And
tell me about your education, college and beyond.
I went to school at Boston College, mm-hmm. and I studied communications, journalism, as well as theater, acting, directing, classical voice. Boston College was formidable for me. Lifelong friendships, the Jesuit philosophies.
Oh, you're Jesuit educated.
Yes. I mean, look, the motto is men and women for others.
That's where you get your discipline.
Well, that's more my German-Irish mother, but it maybe continued on. But the Jesuit education at Boston College was about interdisciplinary education, along with a sense of purpose, why, a deep sense of why, and how you are able to tap into your gifts and share them with the world. It wasn't so much ingrained in me. It was presented to me in college more fervently than ever. And so I said, I like that. That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Relate the story of, let's talk about some experiences you had in Boston, but relate the story about performing, you and your brother performing with the Boston Pops. I love that story.
Sure. The cool thing is, the Boston Pops didn't hire us. It was my music director, choral director at Boston College, John Finney, who plucked my brother and me out of the choir when we were just starting our sophomore year. And he said, well, as you guys know, every year the Boston Pops comes to Boston College and they create the hockey arena, Conti Forum, into a 20,000 seat symphony concert hall to raise funds for financial aid, for students, those in need. And they said, I want you two to sing, if you'd like, a duet, Our Time, from Stephen Sondheim's Merrily We Roll Along, accompanied by the Boston Pops. So there we are, being chosen by our chorale director as sophomores, saying, I'd love for you to give you this opportunity to sing with the Boston Pops, Keith Lockhart conducting. And that gave us then multiple opportunities to sing with the Boston Pops. And that was, again, a first foray into singing with symphony orchestras.
I can't imagine how that felt when you were up there with that wall of sound behind you.
Oh,
what was it like?
Well, the day that my brother and I sang Our Time with the orchestra was the day that my Grandma Nunziata, it was the anniversary of her death. And I did not know that until afterwards. I saw my dad crying the moment I went up to my parents after we sang. And I said, Dad, what's wrong? And he said, do you know what also today is? And I said, no. I said, this is the day that my mom, Grandma, passed away. And I said, and she was here.
Well, Sondheim is certainly receiving a lot of attention still. Well, still. He's gotten ever since he... what do you make of all? Do you have any Sondheim in your repertoire, by the way?
Yes. Yeah. I have an arrangement that Ted Firth and I put together of Somewhere. Mm-hmm. Leonard Bernstein, Stephen Sondheim lyrics, and Leonard Bernstein music.
By the time this airs or is available on the internet, I will have had interviewed Michael Feinstein. He will have been on the first part, and Ted Firth will be on the second part. And that's going to be quite a show. I wish I could have them together, but there's so much to talk to him about them both separately. So I'm going to... But talk about Ted Firth and your relationship with him.
Ted is one of my very first, big-time music directors and arrangers. I was in my mid-20s when I met Ted. And he's arranged so many songs of mine, classics and originals. And in fact, I think this is my first time talking about it. We are just starting to record a duo album of Ted Firth on piano and me voice. And it's going to be an album of Italian arias, classic love songs, and a few originals. And it's just going to be us two. So we're about halfway done. And we're going to be finishing that up later this year. Working with Ted is masterful. I tell him every time we finish a concert, I just say, wow, we made some beautiful music together. And he is so complimentary and he's humble. He's so humble. And he's one of the greats.
I see him at meet and greets. He's performed here with the Indianapolis Symphony. I've seen him at the Palladium with Michael. He has accompanied Marilyn May And who are some of the other big names that he plays with? I mean, it goes on and on and
Brian
on.
Stokes Mitchell, Bernadette Peters.
And everybody raves about him and his discipline and his creativity and his temperament. And are all those things true? That
of course.
He truly is
he's
a musician's musician.
He's a wonderful man.
Yeah.
And a great family guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll be touring a lot with him moving forward and making even more music together.
Oh, that's wonderful. So tell me about the daily life of Anthony Nunziata. How do you do it all? Because you tour a lot. And, let me go on to say that, many are called this, but you really are one of the hardest working people in show business, because I know that you, quote, have a team. You don't talk about those people all the time. I know you have help, but I know you do a lot yourself, your own marketing. You're a graphic designer, aren't you? I mean, the stuff you turn out looks like you have like this, this big group of people behind you, but much of it, how do you do all that?
I'm an entrepreneur first, Tom.
Okay.
I definitely got that spirit just as a kid. I mean, this is a silly story. I don't tell it, but as a kid, in fact, I remember one Halloween. I think I was 9 or 10. I thought to myself, "Oh, Halloween, you get free candy, so why not freeze all my candy, pick out a few of my favorite pieces, freeze all the candy I get, and then in a couple months sell it at a candy sale." And I did that, and I made a couple $100 off of candy because I thought you're getting something for free, and then you can sell it. So branding and marketing definitely comes from my father. The sense of an entrepreneurial spirit just lives within me. I've always been coming up with different fun ideas, and now I use that entrepreneurship in my creative life. And I've managed what I've done throughout my entire career.
You don't have a publicist, do you?
I do.
Okay, you do have a publicist. Do you have an agent?
I have a booking agent.
And do you have a manager?
That's me.
Okay.
But I have let's just say by the time this interview comes out, my team is ever growing because of the many different projects that I have going in terms of my... So
you're going to have people.
Sure. Look, you all need people. I'm proud to say that. I do a lot.
You know the joke about I'll have my people call your.
Of course.
I had my people call you.
Of course.
That would be.
And your people is you. That's nice. Right. But I have these buckets, Tom. Right. I have my recording career. I have these original songs. I have my television projects that I'm developing and creating. So all of these things that come together, I have my teams of people working on each. And basically anybody in show business or have a creative life know this, it's spinning plates. It's all about keeping them up and enjoying the ride. This is fun.
Sure.
I work my tush off to do it, but it's my passion to connect with people, Tom. And my only hope is that perhaps that inspires other people to do what they love to do and to make it happen in the life, in the time that we have. Make it happen. Do it. No excuses. If there's something in you, if there's something calling within you, that's purposeful. That's unique to you. And this is coming from a twin who grew up with someone with almost identical DNA, searching for that unique voice and sharing it with the world. That's so important.
You got a lot of passion, my friend. Where does it derive, the passion that you express in your work and just in a conversation sitting here?
Gratitude. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful to be healthy. I'm grateful to be here. And with the time that I have and the time that we all have, we have to give it our all. We have to.
So what are your long-term goals with your career? I mean, I know you and I have talked during an interview. I believe you told me that, Broadway is not out of the question. That's something you'd like to try sometime, right? Sure.
And whether that's an original show, mm-hmm. a one-man show, or going into a show, I would love that. Mm-hmm. I told you, I'm an actor at heart. And
would you ever do straight drama?
Sure. Mm-hmm. Why not? If it excites me at the time, Sure.
How
Right
about-
now, though, I'm very focused, and I enjoy going on stage as different versions of myself.
Sure.
You know, that's exciting to me because I can be an actor and then also be completely myself. And so, and I've spoken to you about this as I continue to go and continue to grow my concert career and also these projects for streaming potentially in television. I want to share as much as myself as possible in as many different avenues as possible.
Well, the reality is most performers, entertainers I talk to, when they're training them in the theater drama schools to be triple threats, they're training young students to be able to do cabaret, to do concerts, to do television, to do film, to do whatever, you know. So it's just getting more and more competitive with all the new people coming on the scene. But, you know, you can't really have a career these days unless you have that visibility in every single genre. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's important to make yourself versatile. I think at the core of it, I think it's important for people to know and to learn what their truth is. Because once you're able to really feel comfortable with who you are, you can do anything. Mm-hmm. So you can put yourself in a different venue or a different medium. But if you're not being true to yourself, is it going to come across authentic? So I think it's important. And I tell myself or I encourage myself to just stay true to things and opportunities that feel true to me. Yes, I think it's wonderful that more and more opportunities, that young people are training in different mediums, because you know this is a crazy business. It's the circus. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what opportunities may be presented to you. So you got to be ready. You got to be ready.
Tell me about your experience thus far with Indianapolis. You know, I've told you that part of my mission with this show is to, just to shine a spotlight on Indiana, that we're not a flyover, that we're not a cultural wasteland. What has been your experience and your impression of Indiana? Yes, and I'm giving you a leading question because I want you to say good things, but I had a guest on recently who had different views. He said, we're not perfect. We have some things that need to be fixed in terms of representation.
Sure.
But what is your impression of Indianapolis for people outside Indy and for those here?
Well, my impression I get is from the audience members that I meet and the people, and they're music loving. They're ready for a good time and emotionally ready to go on these journeys with me.
Do you find the cabaret audiences here, because they're a little different than those big concerts that you've done here, and they generally are. There's often, cabaret for some, it's a refined art form, and not everyone has been exposed to it because it's not accessible. It's price point, But in that regard, do you find a lot of sophisticated people that you've met here, highly educated, who come at meet and greets, say, "Hey, I've been to New York. I've seen you at Cafe Carlisle."
It's amazing. Yeah, look, the people that I've met here have begun to also travel around the country to see me. There's a whole group of people who were at my Cafe Carlisle debut from Carmel and Indianapolis.
Would that be Shane Harkey?
I believe, I don't know if it was that, but it was a group of people affiliated with
Harkey,
Shane.
for those listening.
Wonderful.
I'm name dropping
friend.
because he's a good friend of Marilyn Mays, and I wrote a story about that friendship, which is, very unique. Shifting gears, before I let you go, one of the reasons I asked you to be on is to talk about, let's be transparent. We are friends, and I often develop friendships with people I cover. But I asked you a favor. So tell the audience about that favor and what you're going to do.
Is this the fundraiser?
Yes.
Yeah, the fundraiser in April. Look, Tom, what you do at the Magic Thread Cabaret is fostering talent and giving people an opportunity to explore the art form of cabaret and intimate performance. And when the opportunity came up, you said that you were having an upcoming fundraiser. I happened to literally be coming back from a gig in Seattle, I think, the day before, And I said, hey, Tom, I'll come into town and perform if you'd like. Anyway, so I'm happy to do that because I think what you're doing here in Indianapolis is important. It's important. And it all circles back to giving people an opportunity to do something that they love. And so people are going to have an opportunity to come to this fundraiser. It's April the 20th. April the 20th.
And it will be 7:30. It will be at the Athenaeum, the historic Athenaeum. Wait to see it, Anthony. It used to be the center of German life.
Wow.
Well, you have German roots. So,
I do.
Kurt Vonnegut's grandfather built it.
Really?
And, German used to be spoken in Indianapolis schools. There were newspapers. And then after World War I, they had to hide all that.
Yes.
But so it's a beautiful historic building.
Fabulous.
And the the stage, it's a really big space. It seats 400. So we need to sell 400 tickets, and all the funds will go towards our mission. And one of the things that I know that you understand as an artist when you were young, it's tough. A lot of young artists and a lot of people can't always practice their craft in a city the size of Indianapolis. So they have to do day jobs. Well, they do in New York too. But here it's even a little tougher to balance, making a living and and not being able to do as much performance as you can. So we provide stipends, and a lot of the funds that you're going to help us raise are going to go towards, filling the refrigerators of people. We've gotten feedback from people that, oh my God, you helped me pay my rent when we did that show.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah.
That's wonderful, Tom.
It goes beyond just being a performance opportunity. It's helping people literally
sustain.
And we call it income building because that's what it is. So I want to thank you. And, I want to encourage people listening. You can go to athenaeum.org for tickets. They range from $100 to $60 to $40 and $25. So there's a price point for everybody. And for the $100 ticket, this is my commercial, okay? So the $100 tickets, there's a VIP meet and greet. Come and meet Anthony Nunziata.
Yes, and so I'm going to be doing a special tailored concert at this event. And again, you're going to get a concert from me, and together we're going to celebrate the mission. So we're all going to be there knowing that your money is going towards people who need it to do what they love to do.
And I want to add that our MC who will be introducing you is well-known Channel 6 WRTV anchor Mark Mullins, who is a big supporter of our company, which is artistic director. We can't get away without speaking about Dustin Klein, my partner, who will also be in the show, but he'll be accompanying our special guest, Norman Lasseter, who is a local performer who's made a name for himself. He does a cabaret show called Gray Pride, and he is a 50-ish LGBTQ performer, and he's performed in Palm Springs in New York, and so he'll be on the bill as your special guest. So there's a lot to look forward to, and it's just a great reason to have you back in Indy because you are developing. And is that intentional when you go to these markets to develop a fan base? Are you intentional about that when you go to these places?
That's the hope. When I go into new places, I just do my thing, and we'll see what sticks.
I told you the story about Sophie Tucker. Did you ever see that documentary?
I did.
How every town that she went to, there was no internet, but she would get people's addresses down and keep them in a book, and she would write cards, and she did that longhand. I'm sure you don't do that.
I do.
But really?
I write. When I meet people, I do correspond old school. Uh-huh. I have my own stationery.
Oh, that is really special.
I try, because for me, again, I'm in the business of connecting, and it's more than just to make a contact or to do something for the business. It's about human connection for me.
Yeah.
And so I've told you this before, coming to Carmel and now Indianapolis, the greater Indianapolis area, I've developed friendships from my time here, and it does seem like, and I'm grateful that my fan base and my friend fan base, my family, people are my family, become my fans, is growing, and it's a beautiful thing.
You know, I was watching. Have you seen the Quincy Jones documentary? I highly recommend it. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
I think it's older. It's fantastic. I mean, from the standpoint of you being a musician and a songwriter, and all those things, anybody who's in the business will appreciate what he has to say. One thing he talked about, and I want to leave with this, you know, you strike me, your sincerity, your authenticity comes through. And that's, as a reviewer, that's another thing that I notice, because I get to meet everybody at the meet and greets, and it's always interesting to see whether the person I saw on stage is the same person that I'm talking to in that kind of situation. And you have that, and I think that's why the two of us have connected. But ego can really cause havoc for people in your business, and I think you know that fame is seductive.
I think it's seductive if it's a goal.
It's upside or downside,
but it's not a goal of mine.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting to. So Quincy Jones made a comment. The interviewer asked him, "So how do you deal with your fame? How do you keep that in check, or your ego?" And he thought about it. He says, "Well, you know, I see ego as just overdressed insecurities." And I thought, that's brilliant. I wonder if he made that up or he got it from somebody else. But that really spoke to me of how, you know, you've got to be in it for the right reasons, don't you think? If you want your career, if you want longevity. Am I right about that in your experience?
Well, for me, Tom, I think that's a pretty profound and truthful statement that he made. Look, for me, I take great pride in being true to myself, staying humble, being grateful, and work hard. Nothing is handed to me. I'm going to work hard to do this thing that I love so much, because I get out of it what I hope other people are going to get out of it. I don't want to sound too woo-woo, but it is. It's just the fact. And I think that intentional, that very focused, wise statement for me about connecting people, hopefully doing something that affirms life for others, unlocks gifts within them, unlocks memories. That's what I do. And as things continue to happen, whether it's, you know, if more notoriety or fame, as these things, and if they happen, whenever they happen, God bless. That will maybe just give me a larger platform to do what I do. I take great pride in saying I'm secure in who I am and where I'm at, and my tight tribe of family and very dear friends, that I have all I need emotionally. So it's because of that, what I give to others, Tom, is what's overflowing.
Well, you know, all that overflowing talent you have is reflected in your music. It stands on its own. It speaks for itself. So let's leave with a bit of, we're beginning to hear it right now, this last track that you brought for us to share with our listeners. And what is it that we're listening to?
I wrote this song with my dear friend and collaborator Dan Godlin called Don't You Forget. And it's all about saying words of comfort to somebody who may need that extra push, that extra bit of hope.
There is something in the way you're looking right now. It's telling me your flame is flickering out. If I've ever known you, I know you're you're tougher than tough. Sometimes the world falls, sometimes you pick it back up. Don't you forget the stars will shine over your head through harder times. I'll be right here to hold you in my arms. You'll find a way to better days. Don't you forget. Don't you forget. I remember all the times you showed me the way. My faith was lost, my heart couldn't carry the weight. Back then you were my rock, you were my one solid ground. My life was breaking till you came and turned it around. You said, don't you forget, the stars will shine over your head through harder times. I'll be right here to hold you in my arms. You'll find a way to better days. Don't you forget. And when it seems there's no more road to take you home, I won't let go. So don't you let go. Don't you forget, the stars will shine over your head through harder times. I'll be right here to hold you in my arms. You'll find a way to better days. Don't you forget, the clouds may hide some of the light you hold inside, but I'll be right here to hold the mirror to your eyes tonight. You're shining bright, the love you are is never done. So don't you forget, don't you forget, don't you forget.
Well, with that, thank you again for giving me your precious time. I know that later on you have a show tonight, and so you need your rest. So thank you again.
My pleasure. Thanks, Tom, for having me.
Our thanks go out to our media sponsor, Urban Times. Urban Times is a monthly news magazine which serves as the official newsletter for 15 Indianapolis neighborhoods, offering news about development, arts and entertainment, and from the business community.
Who will take center stage on the podcast next? Your seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez awaits. Follow Tom on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and make sure to visit tomalvarez.studio. Watch Tom every other Thursday on Lifestyle Live on Wish TV, and make sure to listen every week here on the All Indiana Podcast Network.